10. Everyday things hiding surprising secrets. Have you ever looked at something you use every day and realized you have absolutely no idea why it was designed that way? The truth is, many ordinary objects around us are quietly solving problems we never notice. A pillow, a sink, a pair of jeans, even an airplane window can contain details so small that most people overlook them completely. But once you understand the reason behind them, you start seeing everyday life in a completely different way. Some of these features were created for safety, others were designed for convenience, and some have remained for decades, long after their original purpose faded away. Yet all of them tell a story about how human life, technology, and design have evolved in ways we rarely stop to appreciate. So today, we're taking a closer look at 10 everyday things hiding surprising secrets. And by the end of this video, you may never look at common objects the same way again. 1. Your pillow could gain weight every year, and most people don't know why. Your pillow could actually gain weight over time. And no, it's not because the stuffing inside is expanding or somehow getting heavier on its own. The real reason is far less obvious, and honestly, a little unsettling. Every single night, while you sleep, your body naturally sheds tiny skin cells. You also produce sweat and body oils without even realizing it. Your hair carries residue, your face transfers moisture, and the air around you brings in dust and microscopic particles. Night after night, your pillow absorbs more than just the pressure of your head. It becomes a collection point for everything your body leaves behind while you rest. At first, this buildup is invisible. You don't notice it happening. Your pillow still looks normal from the outside, but over weeks, months, and eventually years, those tiny particles begin to settle into the fabric and filling. Skin flakes, oils, moisture, dust, and allergens slowly collect inside the pillow, creating a hidden layer of buildup that most people never think about. This is one reason older pillows often feel different from new ones. They may become flatter, heavier, warmer, or less fresh, even if the outer fabric still seems fine. The issue isn't always what you can see on the surface. It's what is gradually accumulated deep inside. And that buildup can affect more than comfort. Old pillows can trap allergens and harbor dust mites, especially in warm, humid conditions. That's why sleep experts often recommend washing pillow covers regularly and replacing pillows after a certain amount of time. It's not just about softness, it's also about cleanliness and hygiene. So the next time your pillow feels unusually heavy, stale, or worn out, remember this. It may be carrying more than stuffing. It may be carrying years of what your body quietly leaves behind while you sleep. 2. This tiny hole on airplanes actually saves lives. If you've ever looked closely at an airplane window, you may have noticed a tiny hole near the bottom of the window panel. Most passengers never see it. Even if they do notice it, they usually assume it's some random manufacturing detail. But that tiny hole serves a very important purpose. Airplane windows are not made from a single thin sheet of glass. They are built in multiple layers, each one playing a role in safety and pressure control. When a plane climbs to high altitude, the difference between the air pressure inside the cabin and the air pressure outside becomes enormous. That creates stress on the window structure. The tiny hole helps regulate how pressure is distributed between the layers of the window. Instead of allowing all that stress to build unpredictably, the hole ensures that pressure is managed in a controlled way. It reduces strain on the outer pane by directing most of the pressure load to the stronger inner components. In simple terms, that tiny hole helps the window handle extreme conditions safely. Without it, pressure differences could create uneven stress, increasing the chance of damage or weakening over time. A part so small that most people never notice, it is actually helping protect everyone on board. It's one of those fascinating details in engineering where something almost invisible turns out to be essential. Air travel looks smooth and routine from the passenger seat, but behind the scenes, every feature is carefully designed. Even the smallest opening in a window has a reason. So the next time you fly and stare out at the clouds, remember that one of the most important safety features on the plane may be the tiny hole sitting right in front of you. 3. Most elevators have a hidden button people never notice. Elevators are one of those everyday machines we trust without thinking. You step in, press a floor number, and expect the doors to close and the ride to begin. But hidden behind that familiar control panel is a detail most passengers never know exists. Many elevators include special controls or override functions designed for emergency or authorized use. To the average rider, the panel looks simple: open door, close door, floor numbers, alarm. But behind or within the system are controls that can change how the elevator behaves during urgent situations. In certain cases, maintenance personnel, emergency responders, or firefighters can activate special modes that allow the elevator to operate differently from its normal public setting. These controls may speed up door closing, prioritize certain floor access, or place the elevator into a special emergency function depending on the situation and building design. That matters because in emergencies, seconds count. A normal elevator is built for everyday convenience, but emergency situations require something more controlled. Firefighters may need elevator access for rescue operations. Building staff may need to take control of the elevator during system checks or hazardous events. These hidden functions exist because elevators are more than just moving rooms. They are part of the building's safety system. Most people never see these features in use, and that's a good thing. If everything is working normally, they stay out of sight. But their presence reminds us that even ordinary machines are often designed with extraordinary situations in mind. So, while most passengers only see a few buttons and a metal door, the elevator itself is prepared for far more than a simple ride between floors. 4. Your phone battery drains faster because of this small mistake. Asterisk, asterisk. Almost everyone has had the same frustrating experience. You charge your phone, unplug it, and somehow the battery seems to drop faster than it should. You may blame the battery itself, the age of the phone, or the charger. But sometimes the real reason is a small daily habit most people don't even notice. Even when your screen is off, your phone may still be extremely busy. Many apps continue running in the background, checking for updates, refreshing content, tracking your location, syncing data, and sending notifications. On the surface, your phone looks inactive, but inside, it may be working constantly. That background activity consumes power, a little here, a little there, and over time it adds up. Social media apps refresh feeds, weather apps check location, email services sync messages. Maps and fitness apps may track movement. Even apps you forgot were installed can still be using resources behind the scenes. The result is a battery that drains faster than expected, often without any obvious clue why. People sometimes think their battery is defective when the real issue is simply too much hidden activity. The phone never really gets a chance to rest. The good news is that small adjustments can make a big difference. Limiting background app refresh, turning off unnecessary location access, reducing brightness, checking battery usage settings, and closing or removing apps you no longer use can all help improve battery life. None of these changes are dramatic on their own, but together they can noticeably extend how long your phone lasts throughout the day. This is a perfect example of how tiny habits create bigger effects. Your battery doesn't always drain because something is broken. Sometimes it drains because your phone is doing far more than you realize. 5. This small hole in your sink prevents a huge problem. Take a look at your bathroom sink and you'll probably notice a small opening near the top edge, usually positioned beneath the faucet area. Many people assume it's decorative or just part of the design, but it actually serves a very practical purpose. That opening is called the overflow drain. Its job is simple but important. If the sink fills with water and the main drain can't keep up, the overflow opening gives the water another path to escape before it spills over the edge. Imagine someone leaves the faucet running, or the main drain becomes partially blocked with toothpaste, soap residue, hair, or debris. Without a secondary escape route, the water level would keep rising until it poured directly onto the counter and floor. But the overflow drain helps prevent that by redirecting excess water. It also improves how the sink drains under normal conditions. By allowing air into the drainage system, it can help water flow more smoothly and reduce the slow gulping effect that sometimes happens in sealed drains. So this little hole is doing more than sitting there. It is part of how the sink functions safely and efficiently. Most people never think about it until something goes wrong, but if you've ever almost overflowed a sink and the water mysteriously stopped rising as fast as expected, that small opening may have been the reason. It's one more example of a tiny design detail preventing a much bigger problem. A hole most people ignore is quietly protecting floors, cabinets, and walls from an unnecessary mess. 6. Most people don't know why jeans have a tiny pocket. Asterisk. Jeans have been around for generations, and one of their most recognizable features is also one of their most confusing. That tiny pocket sitting above the main front pocket seems almost useless today. It's too small for a phone, too shallow for keys, and awkward for coins. So why is it still there? The answer goes back to the 1800s, when pocket watches were common. Before wristwatches became normal, many people carried watches attached to chains. These timepieces needed a secure place where they wouldn't swing around, break, or get scratched during physical work. That tiny pocket was made specifically for holding a pocket watch. It kept the watch snug, protected, and easily accessible. For workers, especially those wearing denim in labor-intensive environments, that extra pocket was practical and purposeful. Over time, pocket watches faded from daily life. Wristwatches became more common, and later phones replaced many people's need for watches altogether. But the tiny pocket remained. It had become part of the identity of jeans themselves. Today, some people use it for coins, rings, USB drives, or other tiny items, but for most people, it's simply a leftover design tradition. It's a functional fossil, a remnant from another era that survived because denim culture carried it forward. So the next time you notice that tiny pocket, remember, it's not random. It's a piece of history stitched right into your jeans. 7. This line on your toothbrush has a hidden purpose. Asterisk. Many toothbrushes have a colored line or patch across the bristles. Most people assume it's just branding or decoration, a way to make the brush look more interesting. But in many cases, that colored section has a helpful purpose. It often acts as a visual guide for toothpaste amount. Dentists commonly recommend using less toothpaste than people think. For adults, you usually only need a small amount, not a long strip covering the entire brush head. The colored line helps show roughly how much is enough. That matters because more toothpaste does not necessarily mean better cleaning. Extra foam can create the illusion of a deeper clean, but it doesn't automatically improve brushing quality. In fact, too much toothpaste can simply lead to waste, more mess, and in some cases encourage people to spit and rinse too quickly instead of brushing thoroughly. The real power of brushing comes from technique, time, and consistency, not from covering the entire toothbrush in foam. The guideline helps people use an appropriate amount and build better habits over time. Like many design details, it's easy to overlook because it seems so ordinary. But that small colored strip may be quietly teaching users how to brush more effectively without them ever realizing it. 8. Your refrigerator works better if you place food this way. Asterisk. Most people think a refrigerator will keep everything cold no matter how they arrange the food inside. If it fits, it works, right? Not exactly. A refrigerator depends on airflow. Cold air has to circulate through vents and open spaces in order to keep the internal temperature consistent. If those vents are blocked by oversized containers, tightly packed groceries, or food stacked too closely together, the cooling system becomes less effective. That means some areas of the fridge may become colder than others while certain items stay warmer than they should. You might notice vegetables spoiling faster, leftovers not staying as fresh, or drinks feeling colder in one section than another. It's not always because the fridge is malfunctioning. Sometimes the problem is simply poor arrangement. Spacing items properly allows air to move around as intended, keeping vents clear, avoiding overpacking, and organizing food by shelf type can help the refrigerator maintain stable temperatures. This improves efficiency and can even reduce energy strain over time. It's a simple reminder that good design often depends on cooperation. The refrigerator can only do its job well if we use it the way it was meant to function. So the next time your fridge feels uneven, don't just check the settings, check the placement of the food. 9. This simple kitchen trick keeps bananas fresh longer. Bananas are one of the most common fruits in the home, but they also seem to ripen faster than people want. One day they're firm and slightly green. The next day they're soft, spotted, and suddenly too ripe. The reason has to do with a natural plant hormone in gas form called ethylene. Bananas release ethylene as they ripen, and that gas speeds up the ripening process even more. When bananas are clustered together, the gas builds up around them, causing the bunch to ripen faster as a group. That's why a simple trick can help slow things down: wrapping the stems. By covering the stems, people reduce how much ethylene spreads from the area where it is most concentrated. It won't stop ripening completely, but it can slow the process enough to give the bananas a little more life. It's a small kitchen habit, but it can make a noticeable difference, especially if you buy bananas in advance and want them to last several extra days. You can also separate bananas from other fruits, since ethylene can affect nearby produce too. This is one of those surprisingly effective household tricks that feels almost too simple to matter, but often the best solutions are small adjustments that work with nature instead of against it. 10. The reason airplane windows are round is surprisingly important. At first glance, airplane windows seem like a design choice. Rounded corners look sleek, modern, and pleasant to the eye. But the real reason airplane windows are round has very little to do with appearance and everything to do with safety. In the early days of aviation, some aircraft used square or more sharply shaped windows. On the surface, this didn't seem like a major issue, but at high altitude, repeated pressurization placed intense stress on the aircraft body. Sharp corners became points where stress concentrated more heavily. That concentration made the structure more vulnerable. Tiny cracks were more likely to form at corners, and over time, those cracks could expand under repeated pressure cycles. Engineers learned that the shape of the window could dramatically affect the strength of the aircraft. Rounded or oval windows solved that problem by distributing pressure more evenly. Without sharp corners, the stress spreads out more smoothly across the structure, reducing the chance of cracks and improving durability. It was a vital lesson in aviation design, and it changed aircraft engineering permanently. Today, those rounded windows are so common that few people think about them. But each one reflects a deeper principle of safe design. Sometimes the shape of something simple can determine whether it withstands enormous forces or fails under them. And that may be the most fascinating pattern in all the objects we've explored today. Because once you start looking closely, you realize everyday things are full of hidden intelligence. Pillows reveal what the body leaves behind. Sinks prevent floods with a tiny opening. Jeans preserve history in a forgotten pocket. Refrigerators depend on airflow. Toothbrushes teach measurement. Phones lose power because of invisible activity. Airplane windows use shape and pressure to protect human lives thousands of feet above the ground. What seems ordinary is often anything but ordinary. The world around us is filled with quiet design decisions, tiny features, and forgotten inventions that keep life running smoothly. We rarely notice them because when something works well, it fades into the background. But behind that invisibility is careful thinking, problem solving, and often decades of improvement. So the next time you pick up a common object, pause for a moment and ask a simple question. Why is it made that way? Because chances are, there's a story hidden in plain sight.